From a zebra with polka dots instead of stripes to a real-life Pokemon, here are 10 of the coolest wild animals that have rarely been seen. Number 10. Polka Dot Zebra. One of the most breathtaking and rare animals in the world was spotted recently in Kenya at the Maasai Mara National Reserve. A zebra with spots instead of stripes. This marks the first time that a zebra with this kind of unusual pattern has ever been photographed at this nature reserve. It was a baby zebra and the youngster was completely black with little white polka dots all over its body. Apparently, the zebra has a pigment disorder, although at first glance it looks like it could be a completely different species. The zebra was named Tira, and it has become famous not only at the nature reserve but all over the world. The term for its pigment disorder is being dubbed pseudomelanism, referring to its stripe pattern abnormality. Oddly enough, if you were to shave a normal zebra, it would be completely black. However, we won't know what Tira the spotted zebra looks like as an adult for a few more years until she fully matures. Number 9. The Bornean Orangutan. There's no orangutan on Earth as difficult to spot as the red-orange Bornean orangutan, and that's because the species is unfortunately critically endangered. According to the World Wildlife Foundation, its population has declined by over 50% throughout the past 60 years. The habitat of the Bornean orangutan has also been reduced by 55% in the last 20 years, and they are barely hanging on. They used to be prevalent throughout Indonesia, but today you would have a very hard time spotting one. The good news is that there are 3 subspecies found on different parts of the island of Borneo. Each type of orangutan has a short beard, light orange hair, and can grow to be around 4.6 feet tall and 220 pounds. There's the northwest Bornean orangutan, with only about 1,500 left in the wild. Then there's the northeast Bornean orangutan, which is the smallest of them all. And finally, the central Bornean orangutan is the most prevalent right now, with at least 35,000 individuals still alive. If you're wondering why Bornean orangutans are so important, other than the fact that they are gorgeous animals who deserve to be alive, they play a very important role in the ecosystem. One of the main things that orangutans do is disperse seeds to keep the forest healthy. There have been at least 500 different plant species recorded in their diet, meaning they help to disperse all 500 of these plants, helping the forest to grow. Hey, real quick, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. Number 8. Eel-Like Sea Monster. A horrifying monster from the deep sea recently terrified the internet. No one had ever seen it before. It made its alien appearance in 2016 in a lake south of China. To this day, no one is entirely sure what it is or where it came from. The creature was completely white, shaped a lot like an eel, had fins, but mysteriously no eyes. It also had incredibly sharp teeth in its mouth, which kind of made it look like the offspring of an infernal demon. But however terrifying this eel-like sea monster was, it had to be a real animal, right? It turned out that someone online recognized it as a rough-head grenadier, an extremely elusive fish that lives in the North Atlantic Ocean at ridiculous depths of up to 6,500 feet. But even though someone recognized it, they may have been wrong. After all, how could it possibly have gotten from the Atlantic Ocean into a lake south of China? It simply doesn't make sense. For now, it's still just a sea monster, and hopefully it was the only one of its kind. Number 7. Northern Bald Ibis. The northern bald ibis is one of the strangest animals you have ever seen. Or not seen. It has a very distinctive bright red face and narrow feathers that project from the rear of its head and neck that form a roughed up sort of look. It kind of resembles a vulture that's having a bad hair day. This bird is extremely rare, despite the fact that their family dates back over 60 million years. Fossil records have shown that it shares its genus with just one other species, and that both of them have been evolving since the time of the dinosaurs. Of course, that was until humans showed up. Over just a few decades, the population of these birds has dramatically dropped. There was a population crash in the 1950s, conservation efforts were initiated in the 70s, but today there are only between 200 and 250 of them left on the planet. They live in 2 concentrated areas in Morocco and a few lingering populations in Syria. But even if these birds were in abundance, they would still be very rare to spot. They typically only breed in dry areas, such as cliffs and escarpments in dry and arid regions. They even keep their nests out of sight near river and sea cliffs. And when it's time to eat, ibises usually hunt in small groups on dry and rocky slopes, far away from civilization. Number 6. Rare white snake. Most people know that there's an abundance of snakes slithering around Australia. The continent is home to some of the deadliest snakes in the world, and you generally don't have to look very hard to find them. But in the Northern Territory, an extremely rare snake was discovered that has shocked wildlife experts all over the world. This incredibly unique snake apparently has a rare genetic mutation that has caused it to be completely white, but it's not an albino. According to the Territory Wildlife Park, the snake was found in the wild by a local resident who rescued it from a dog attack. He then handed it over to the park, where they recognised it immediately as a slaty grey snake, which are usually brown despite its name. These types of snakes are native to Australia, non-venomous, and actually fairly common. But it's definitely not common for one of them to turn up completely pale. So, maybe it's an albino? Nope, it's not an albino because it doesn't have the same exact features like red or pink eyes. This particular snake had jet black eyes and was born with an incredibly rare genetic mutation. In the wild, this type of coloration is pretty unfortunate, as predators are very easily able to spot it. It has no chance of blending in. But luckily, the park adopted the snake and it will now live a long and healthy life. Number 5. Greater Bamboo Lemur. It's also the biggest and one of the rarest. I was leaping along. Leap, leap, leap. If you get that reference, you're awesome! The Greater Bamboo Lemur is arguably the coolest lemur in the world, and also the most elusive. First discovered in 1870, researchers thought these lemurs went extinct until they were rediscovered in 1972. The world had no idea that an unknown population of them were hiding out in a remote region of Madagascar. But then again, that shouldn't be that surprising considering much of Madagascar is either unexplored or seriously underexplored because of harsh terrain and lack of infrastructure. And in case you didn't know, Madagascar is the only place on Earth where lemurs live. The Greater Bamboo Lemur used to be widespread across the entire island, but today they have a very limited distribution. As of now, there are only 12 places on the island where these rare lemurs live, meaning they are almost never spotted by humans. The most recent estimations place their population at roughly 100 to 160. What's even more is that there are only about 20 individuals currently in captivity. As with many other species, this lemur is unable to adapt to its quickly changing habitat. If you're lucky enough to spot one of these rare bamboo-eating mammals, you can recognise them by their bright eyes, cute little fingers, fuzzy brown fur, and distinctive white tufted ears. Number 4. The Pika. I know we all wish Pokemon were real. This next animal might be the closest we get. The Pika looks exactly like a very popular Pokemon, and may even have been the inspiration for the legendary Pikachu. The American Pika is tiny and cuddly, also one of the toughest animals in North America. It's one of the few mammals that is able to survive its entire life living in alpine terrain far above the tree line. This little critter is short with round ears. It doesn't have a tail that looks like a lightning bolt, but it is a dark yellow colour with a light coat of fur. And in case you were wondering, it doesn't actually make a Pika Pika noises like the cartoon Pikachu either. But even for such a small and rarely seen animal, the Pika has a pretty fascinating story. According to the National Wildlife Federation, the American Pika likely evolved from its ancestors in Siberia after they crossed the land bridge between Asia and Alaska, just like the Native American ancestors. Today, they primarily live in the Rocky Mountains, found throughout many of the northern United States and western Canada. They eat grass and weeds, and they even prepare their food by collecting wildflowers and grasses and laying them out in the sun so they don't get moldy. The Pika will then store its dried out food in its den so it can eat them during the winter. Number 3. ToothBuild Pigeon. Anyone who lives near the ocean would never expect any kind of pigeon to be a rarely seen animal. These birds are often considered to be annoying flying rats, and at any harbour anywhere in the world they are in abundance. But there is one species of pigeon known as the ToothBuild pigeon that is surprisingly rare. The ToothBuild pigeon primarily eats fruits. It's only found in the forests of Samoa. It has been nicknamed the Little Dodo because of its dangerous proximity to extinction. All pigeons come from the Columbidae family, with over 310 species of pigeon and dove. The ToothBuild pigeon, however, is the only member of its genus that is still living. This is because much of its territory has been destroyed to make room for agriculture. Plus, the forests where they live have been hugely devastated by cyclones and invasive trees planted by humans. Hunting these pigeons is now completely prohibited, since annual hunts have caused their population to drop below 250. There are so few of these pigeons left that they go for years and years without being seen. One of the last sightings of a ToothBuild pigeon was in 2013 during nature surveys. This is an extremely secretive type of pigeon, and scientists believe there are still a few undiscovered pockets of them left, and they need to be aggressively protected before they are gone forever. Number 2. Plowshare Tortoise. The Plowshare Tortoise has been around for millions of years, but it is rarely ever seen. It was first discovered by humans when they settled on Madagascar over 2,000 years ago. This turtle species survived pirates, predators, and they recently endured 2 brutal cyclones that destroyed much of their ecosystem. They have even survived the global pet trade. However, according to National Geographic, they are on the countdown to extinction. The Plowshare Tortoise has gone from a stable part of the ecosystem to an animal that no one sees anymore. But what are some facts about the now rare Plowshare Tortoise? It is the largest tortoise in Madagascar. There are now less than 100 mature adults still living in the wild, and they have a brilliant golden shell that makes them truly stand out among other tortoises. Unfortunately, it's their golden shell that has gotten them into so much trouble. Their shell is highly valued by private collectors, and this has caused a huge surge in poaching in just the last few years, primarily from collectors in Southeast Asia and China who are willing to pay top dollar even if it means the Plowshare Tortoise is going extinct. Number 1. Cuban Snails. When it comes to unique animals that have been rarely seen in the wild, snails are probably not the first animal you would think about. But there are 6 special breeds of snails that are just as rare as some of the other more elusive animals on Earth, and they are known as Cuban snail or Polymita picta. These tiny gastropods look like they've been painted with psychedelic colours, and they are 100% unique to Cuba. In fact, these snails look more like decorations you'd find at a tourist gift shop than real creatures. But they are. These beautiful painted Cuban snails are found specifically in the eastern part of the country, one of the most biologically diverse places in the world. What makes them even more special is that the species has a limitless variety of colours and markings. Some scientists believe that their colour variations are defence mechanisms used to confuse predators. If all the snails look different, it's harder for predators to concentrate. It's easier to get lost staring at these marvels of nature. It's like you're gazing into a spiralling staircase that goes on forever. This extraordinary snail has an ability to secrete a mucus seal around its shell opening, which allows it to go dormant for extremely long periods of time without ever drying. This makes them super hardy and able to survive long trips out at sea while attached to vegetation, and also why they are rarely seen. Thanks for watching. Which of these rare animals is the most fascinating? Have you been lucky enough to see any of them? Let me know in the comments section, and be sure to subscribe for more videos like these. See you next time. What's the most memorable encounter that you've ever had with an animal in the wild?